Welcome to the Yoga Society podcast, where yoga is for everyone. I'm Martha Cottrell, and in each episode, we explore yoga, mindfulness, and movement for wherever you are in your journey. So let's get started. Hi everyone, today we're here in Toronto, Ontario at Mula Yoga. I'm here with Hana Lukac. She is an international yoga teacher, a teacher's teacher, and the studio owner of Mula in Toronto.
And a yoga student.
And a yoga student, of course. So thank you so much for being here and sharing with us today.
Thank you for having me.
I would like to start off with learning more about you and your yoga journey.
Yeah, it's sort of a non-linear experience for me. I was looking back now, I grew up in Serbia and I was always drawn to different places of worship. I always felt energy, so that was, even though I don't come from a religious family at all, I always loved being inside Orthodox church because it's open all day and it's very unstructured. You don't have to sit through service or mass. So you just come in and you kind of enjoy the energy of it. So that was something that I was always kind of curious about: energy, spirituality, devotion. And the physical practice came from, I was a classical ballerina. So I had an extensive physical training that then led into me going to acting school here in Toronto, going to York University. And then that's where I was introduced to Tai Chi and yoga for actors. And then I started doing hot yoga, of course, and Ashtanga, and a lot of martial arts and smart flow and prana flow, and vinyasa. And then that led me to Tantra and Sri Vidya, which is what I've been doing for the past 15 years.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
What was your first yoga class like?
Awful. It was awful. I think there was an expectation that I would be really good at it. And I went into this very, very hot room and it just wasn't pleasant. I felt overwhelmed and I felt super, super stimulated. And now I understand why, having studied Ayurveda for a bit. I am Pitta inclined, so I have a lot of fire in me. Going into the hot room in that environment and doing a lot of stimulating practices like Kapalabhati and a lot of back bends and a lot of poses that inducing more heat was really just not a great. It wasn't balancing for me. It just threw me off over the edge. Yeah.
I feel like that's interesting because a lot of people aren't aware of the different
Doshas.
Doshas, yes. And so I think a lot of people might go into a class like that thinking that's what there is to yoga or good for them, and not realize that there are all these other styles or something better suited out there for them.
Yeah, I mean, what I found really useful is this idea that like attracts like. So our imbalances are always going to be drawn to that which sustains them, basically. So if you're a fiery person, if you're a go, you're always going to be drawn to that which perpetuates that same imbalance rather than something that slows you down. Having said that, it's probably a lot more optimal to go a little bit against the grain, to change or shift the direction of the momentum so that you can find balance. But that's why we have, yoga is evolving in a really funny way these days where it's, it went from, can you do a headstand to, can we do a handstand? Can we do a back bend in a handstand? Can we do a back bend in a handstand in a hot room? And then going to sauna and a cold plunge. So everything is just so extreme. And ultimately, nobody's balanced. It's just pushing us further and further away from that ultimate goal of yoga, which is equilibrium and finding peace and sitting in the center of opposites, right? And being able to be this and that, but also knowing where the center is. Yeah.
That's a good way to put it. I think that's a really important point.
Yeah.
Because I think it's true. A lot of people who are really busy in their professional lives and their personal lives, and they're drawn to the fast-paced practices. How can I make the most out of this hour? But then maybe they have an experience that they end up in a more calm, like a yin style practice, and they feel better. But a lot of us don't know why we feel better after yoga.
Yeah. And it's, I mean, what is particularly challenging in the way yoga is offered in the Western world is group classes and one-offs, right? So there's no commitment, there's no journey. It's just you drop in and you might get a really physical practice, you might get a non-so-physical practice. It might be sweaty, it might not, it might be quite meditative. There may be music, there may not be. So the idea really is that we stay consistent with this awareness of where we are and where we want to go, and that practices are offered in a way that actually caters to our needs more so than our random wants. And I think that it's really dangerous. What I'm starting to hear a lot from my trainees and my students is that there's this whole movement of intuitive movement. I just do what feels good. I just do what feels right. And it's a funny thing because where does that intuition come from? Is it your reactive mind that's driving you? Is it your kind of disconnected mind? Is it your attached mind? You're attached to a particular sensation and you keep recreating it. I mean, all of those in the Yoga Sutras are called kleshas, are really afflictions. So they keep us away from awareness. They keep us away from self-reliance, from taking charge and ownership over our experience. And we just randomize everything, right? And I think until you know yourself so well that you can say, I have this sense that this should be a good thing for me. And you're not driven by this conditioning or desire that's so familiar. I wouldn't call it intuition. So there should be some methodology behind what we consume as yogis and why.
I think that's really important. How can somebody take action on that, though? What would you suggest?
Gosh, it's so hard because it's so random. And I think you have to find a teacher, first of all. You have to find somebody who is rooted in yogic teachings that resonate with you. Because different phases of our life will be, at different phases or stages in our life will understand the teachings or adopt the teachings or embrace them a lot more than others. So if somebody was to tell me or teach me about energetics and meditation and mantra 20 years ago, I was upside down in a sweaty environment with the music, the last thing super loud, which I read. So, that was my jam and equilibrium, clarity, peace, methodology, patience, didn't need anything. But, I think finding a teacher, finding somebody that is really, that is the embodiment of the teachings. It's super rare, but they are alive, they're around. So it's good to seek that. And then once you're given the practice from someone who understands the teachings on a visceral kind of cellular level, you become increasingly more self-reliant. They start to reveal this inner teacher within you. That's when we can discuss, intuition, third eye point, gut feeling, the embodiment of what yoga is. So I can't send you to a particular place. I mean, of course, come to Mula, but really it's about finding a teacher wherever you are in the world, finding somebody who A, knows what they're talking about, B, is talking about it from the place of authenticity and vulnerability. And also, I mean, look at their life. Look at how their life is unfolding. Because if it's one personality on the yoga mat and a completely different person elsewhere, it might all be for show. So it's yeah, authenticity, integrity.
Yes.
That's very important.
I think that is something that shines through often. And when you go to, like, when I came to your class for the first time, I was like, okay, this feels good. And it's hard to articulate it into words, but you feel the draw, and you live your yoga. You can, so like, it shines so clearly through the authenticity piece. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a beautiful, it means so much to me. The practice means so much to me, and I feel so incredibly privileged to have received it at a time in my life when I did, and to be able to stay on this path despite all the challenges, because it's not easy. It changes you from the base, from the root of your being. It recalibrates everything, and that means recalibrating your relationships, your profession, geographical location, how you relate to money, to people, to love, to life, to pain, to death, to life, like all of these things. So it's really, it's difficult, and it can be disorienting, right? But I think one of the things that I really start to try to stick with is something that I received from my teacher, and that is, when you teach yoga, it's not for you, it's for others. It's, you're offering it with grace and with generosity and authenticity. And you hope for the best. You hope that you can get out of the way enough to transmit the teachings in a way that is meaningful when you practice it for you. And I think one of the greatest problems these days is that yoga teachers consider what they demo on the mat during class as their practice. That can't be it. Energetically speaking, you're offering while you're in class, and you're doing it for others. When you're practicing, it could be exactly the same practice that you taught your students. But when you're practicing for you, it's for you. So you're absorbing it, you're taking it in. If there's a conflict of the direction of that, of the energetic flow, if we consider our practice to be our teaching, and vice versa.
Right. Do you mean, like, so that sometimes when somebody's only teaching classes, and you abandon your own practice, you can start to feel it, like, I need to get on my mat and do this myself, because teaching can give you a lot of energy, like when you feel like you're helping in some way, maybe.
Sure.
But at the same time, I don't know. Personally, I feel like I need some time on my own mat to, like, refill my own cup.
For sure. You always need it. So, when we think about these energetic equations, that we can, if energy is currency, right? And so how we show up in the room and how we command the room, because if you have 30, 40, 50, 100 distracted souls in the room, distracted minds or attached minds, or especially North America, there's such a sense of entitlement and expectation of what the practice should be like, that when you show up for class to teach, sometimes you're at the mercy of all of these fluctuating energies, and in a lot of resistance. I've had people numerous times just do sort of a Mysore practice in my class, and I'm thinking, why are you here? Like, I respect what you're doing, but you're really not getting anything out of me, and there's no exchange here. You're not trusting the practice, and as a result, I'm not trusting you right now. So I don't know what's going on. But really, in order to command the room, your energetic capacity, your intellectual capacity, and your physical capacity for the practice has to be greater than the distractions of your students, than their attachments, than their resistances, because only then can you actually subsume them. If we show up in the room of 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 people, doesn't matter, from a sense of lacking, and we're trying to tap into their energy for approval, for being seen as one way or another, or for finding purpose in being helpful, that's a very slippery slope. that breeds codependency, crossing of the teacher-student boundaries, which happen all the time. I mean, to be real, like that's really not a good approach. I think we as yoga teachers, our wholeness is our responsibility. So, we gain energy and fulfillment and beauty and authenticity in the way we transmit our teachings, not by who is in the room with us, but how we practice and how we commune with, the divine, or how we pray, or how we do mantra, how we move, how we breathe, how we devote our time to studying and learning, more so than, oh, this is just who I am. Everybody adore me. And then, and then the problems really arise quite quickly because the ego is relentless. Yeah.
I like the way you put that into words. I think it's something you can feel when you go to a class. Like you can really feel like the energy of the room, the energy of the teacher that they're giving off, but it's hard to put it into words. And everything's so real the way that even this weekend when we were talking about it. Yeah. So that's one thing that I really appreciate about you and the way that you teach and all about energy and making it a real thing.
Yeah, it is. I mean, there's no life without love. There's nothing without, right?
Everything is energy.
Everything's energy. Yeah.
How did you go from, you said your first experience was this very physical pitta practice. How did you stay with it long enough to find other types of practice that resonated better with you?
I was so hungry, I was given, because I was a classical dancer, I had incredible discipline when it came to alignment and regular practice. So I was on the mat every day, maybe 6 days a week. And then of course I had a little like love affair with Mysore, and I did Ashtanga, which is also 6 days a week. But Ashtanga wasn't enough for me at that time, so I was doing Ashtanga in the morning, and then I was doing Vinyasa in the afternoon. And then I very quickly, because I understand the body so well, I very quickly excelled. And I could do pretty much all the poses under the sun. And I had a little moment of panic. And I remember it was just this contemplation of where next? What happens when you master all the poses? Not that I mastered all the poses, but I was approaching that point where my body was so bendy and so strong and so incredibly depleted at the same time. But I could really bend myself into anything. And so what happens then? Because I realized that I wasn't feeling any healthier. I wasn't feeling any more fulfilled or happier in life. I just had this very rigid, strict discipline in me that helped me, stay fit physically. But my body started breaking, and there was just no meaning in I was hungry for more. And I did experience, Simon Hart was actually here. He's a student of Shira Ray's, and he teaches beautiful fluid flow, but it's called prana flow. And so that was my first proper introduction to energetic practices, like energy driven practices that are physical. So the breath is fueling the physicality of the practice, which was incredible. And I felt so deeply connected, even though the movements were fairly simple in comparison to, Shani third series or fourth series or whatever, but really just glorious. And then I met Rod Stryker at the Yoga Conference in Toronto. It's about, I want to say 15 years ago now. And super simple practice, very simple hatha, breath-driven practice that blew my mind. It was just this incredible, I didn't even really know what it was. I remember leaving and thinking, what was the sequence? Can I recreate the sequence so that I can, replicate the experience? And it wasn't a sequence at all. It was all breath. Breath, mantra, holds, contemplations. And that's where my love here with Tantra started. So, and I've been pursuing it ever since. Yeah.
I can relate to the experience. Like, what just happened? It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so powerful. And you don't know until you know. It's really hard to explain it with words to people who it's so experiential. It's like if you really need to know what peace is, here's the recipe, here's the breath work, here are the poses, here's the mantra, here's the meditation. Sit with it. You really get to familiarize yourself with what is peace, what is joy, what is healing, what is acceptance, what is letting go, what is forgiveness. Like all of these things can be experienced on such a profound level that it's almost as if they live within us. And the yoga practice, if it's done properly, opens the door for us to sit in that experience, to actually feel it within ourselves. And then the more you visit it, the lighter the access is. Like you can access it that much faster. And that's an incredible toolbox to have to live fully.
I think that's so true. I think there is truth to that the experiences stay with us until we meet them.
For sure, absolutely.
How would you describe your style of teaching now in the classes?
Goodness, I love to move. I'm definitely a mover, but I have deep appreciation for breathwork and meditation and mantra. So Sunday morning classes, we kind of go all out, and it's a 2-hour Tantra Hatha practice with mantra and bandha and mudra and asana, pranayama, meditation, and a mini yoga nidra. So it's really luxurious. It's all of it. But my practices generally are a blend. I would call it probably Tantra Vinyasa rather than Tantra Hatha because there's a little more movement, then a little more flow than in Hatha. So it still addresses the body quite a bit, but they're rooted in tradition. They're traditional practices, I would say. Yeah.
That makes sense. Based on my experiences, it's such a beautiful combination of different things. I think I did leave your class being like, what was that? I'm feeling good, but what was that?
Yes. Yeah. I'm so happy to hear that. That's great.
And I didn't know what to expect going in. So that's wonderful. And people can experience your classes even if they're not in Toronto. You have an online platform.
Yes, it's called That Deeper Yoga. And it was initially designed for yoga teachers, but it's certainly great for people who are enthusiasts who want to learn. My experience was that unless you're doing a teacher's training, it's incredibly hard to grow in this practice, especially beyond asana. Asana through repetition and some workshops and stuff you can begin to master and kind of starts to click. But when it comes to pranayama, when it comes to the sutras, when it comes to mantra, when it comes to yoga nidra, there's very little out there. So what I did was I created this platform that is rooted in 3 pillars of yoga, in physicality, so matter, energy, and consciousness. And they're sort of like 3 stages of yoga that are addressed as 3 layers of our being. So the physicality is all asana. We're doing practices towards a peak pose. They're very kind of anatomically designed so that the peak pose in the end becomes more accessible the more we repeat practice. The energy is all about becoming increasingly more aware of vayus. Vayus are directions of energy in the body, and they precede the actions and functions of our being. So things like digestion or elimination or fulfillment and nourishment or circulation, etc. And the mind, of course, is the apex of the yoga practice, which is all meditation and sitting in stillness and becoming more and more aware of our being, of our light, of our potential in this world. So but it's open now to everyone. So if you're curious, there's a 10-day free trial, I believe. And it's really beautiful. There's no commitment, so sign up at yoga.com and check it out and see if you like it.
I will post the link, and I will be checking it out myself too once I'm not in Toronto.
Yeah, it's like you have anything from like 20-minute practices to like an hour and a half proper long practices. So if you have the discipline to do it on your own, it's really beautiful. Yeah. And also you can, like we said initially, how do you know what to practice? Well, you can have a consultation with me or with another teacher and see where you're out of balance and what practices would particularly serve you. Then you stick for 40 days. You stick with the same practice. And I know it's redundant, but it is so beautiful. Like, because you actually get to see yourself heal through a particular approach to your yoga practice.
That is beautiful.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're saying people need to find kind of what they need. And earlier you mentioned you're into Ayurveda, the 3 doshas. How does somebody, this is kind of off track, but how does somebody find out what they need or what dosha they are?
So there are Ayurvedic practitioners. I mean, I'm sure there's a bunch of tests online that you can do to see what your predominant dosha is. But Ayurvedic practitioners, Ayurvedic doctors can actually check your primary dosha and your secondary through a pulse.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But I mean, doshas are pretty simple to determine. You can fill out the test and pretty quickly you'll figure it out because it's, once you see it, you can't unsee it.
Yeah.
It's here.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know to be mindful of time.
Yeah.
Last 2 questions. What is yoga?
What is yoga? Gosh, yoga had so many meanings throughout my journey that were, it started from yoga as a tool for mental and physical observation to yoga as a spiritual system that, sort of unveils our inner capacity to live with purpose and love and wholeness and authenticity and forgiveness and compassion. It's the absence of suffering. It's yoga allows us to live the totality of life, especially Tantra, and allows us to live and experience the totality of life with deep reverence and appreciation for everything that comes our way.
That's beautiful. That's deep.
Thank you.
I love that. You're saying the absence of suffering, but it doesn't mean avoiding pain or avoiding just absolutely experiencing.
Well, where does suffering come from? It comes from how we relate to pain that is inevitable, or the fluctuations in life that are inevitable. Life will throw us, curveballs anyways. So we may as well learn to see. I think one of the big teachings that I've experienced is this idea of samanavaya, this energy of digestion and assimilation, and they say that's yogi energy. And really, it's not bypassing that everything is love and light, but more so in digesting everything that happens to us and in sitting with it rather than running away from it or rushing to judge it as one thing or another. We actually get to see the lessons in it, so it becomes meaningful. And then, when you look back, most of us have had experiences in life that we wish we could have avoided. But when you really, really look at it, you see that it probably led you to something else that was a lot more meaningful than just having never experienced it. So that's where gratitude comes in.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe that. I believe in that so much. That's great. Very deep, very impactful.
I'm glad.
And like we were talking about earlier, I love it when you have this way of putting things that you think and know a little bit to be true, but into words and articulate them really well.
I'm glad it resonates.
Yeah. Okay, and then my last question, do you have a mantra that you live by, or
So in our lineage, we don't share mantras. So once the mantra is given to you by a teacher, we never share it. But I certainly, I like to keep myself. I like to remind myself that we suffer more in our imagination than we do in reality. So that's once the mind starts to get really, really busy and saturated with stories, it's really good just to kind of take a step back and objectify the story. And I think yoga has helped me tremendously in creating that gap from the chaos and the spinning of the mind and the actual experience in reality.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's so important to be able to take that step back.
For sure. And I mean, I think the more we practice, the more we gain that skill to just like, even if it's just, a little delayed gratification, little delayed reaction to things is incredibly important.
Okay, that's a great takeaway. A great thing to just think about. Is there anything else that you want to share with everybody today?
What do you think yoga is?
Oh, this is why I asked the question.
I wish I had with it.
Yeah. This is why I asked the question, because it's so hard to define. And some people say, when people hear I'm in yoga, they have an idea in their mind of what it is. And it's just stretching, or it's something very traditional. You sit there and
meditate.
Yeah. And it's boring. And so what I'm trying to do here is spread that yoga is not just one thing. There's so much to it. And I think my journey started out kind of similar initially for the physical. Well, I wasn't really sure why. I think that's a long story. But what is yoga? Yoga is, for me, a way of living, like a way of approaching life.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. I think that's great.
Yeah. For me. And I think that I like the way you broke it down into the 3 areas too: physical, mental, spiritual. I think it's a way of life, and it means different things to different people.
Yeah. Of course. I mean, as long as you're living and you're closer to your dharma, to your sacred, unique purpose, and you're working on fulfilling it. There are many paths to God, they say. So it's how you get there. Who cares? As long as you don't cause harm, right? Yeah.
In one yoga class I was in particular, the teacher used the analogy, not for what is yoga, but for something else, about all streams lead to the same ocean or river. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your time, and thank you for flipping the question on me.
Thank you for answering. Thank you for having me. This has been truly a wonderful experience. Great chatting.
Yes, I'll share the link to Mula. We'll be sharing about Mula and dive deeper as well.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Can check you out.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to the Yoga Society podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please like and subscribe and share it with someone who could use a little more mindfulness in their day. See you next time.